The past few years have been an interesting ride for anyone invested in medium format photography. With the release of the Hasselblad X2D camera, many photographers felt they had found a balance between tradition and innovation. It was a camera that carried the weight of Hasselblad's history while giving users an elegant tool capable of breathtaking image quality. But as good as it was, it had limitations, particularly when it came to autofocus and usability in fast-paced scenarios. That's where the Hasselblad X2D II camera steps in, and after spending several weeks with it, I can confidently say this is not just a revision. It feels like a genuine leap forward that reshapes how a medium format camera can be used. The first thing you notice when you pick up the X2D II camera is how refined the physical design feels. Hasselblad has kept the same minimalist aesthetic that defines the X system, but they've leaned into subtle details that give it a fresher, more premium vibe. The body now comes in a slightly altered shade of gray, and the logos and markings on the exterior are blacked out. That move seems small, but it completely changes the vibe of the camera. Instead of branding shouting at you, the design exudes confidence, almost as if Hasselblad is saying, "You already know who we are." The grip is wrapped in a new leatherette texture that is both comfortable and stylish, and the build quality feels absolutely solid. There are also functional upgrades, magnetic port covers that snap into place with a satisfying click, and an overall slightly lighter body that trims just over 50 grams compared to its predecessor. You may not notice that on paper, but when you carry it all day, it matters. Controls have also received a thoughtful overhaul. The rear of the camera introduces a 5-direction joystick that doubles as a push button, making navigation faster and more precise. Beneath it is an additional customizable button, which is a welcome addition for photographers who like to streamline their setup. Hasselblad has also added push functionality to the front dial, which means you now have multiple assignable controls that bring frequently used settings to your fingertips. When paired with certain lenses that feature custom rings, you can configure as many as 8 custom functions. This might sound like a small ergonomic tweak, but in practice it saves time and keeps you immersed in shooting rather than diving into menus. And while we're on the subject of menus, Hasselblad deserves credit for keeping their user interface simple. Even as the camera adds complex features like object recognition and continuous autofocus, the menu layout remains intuitive and icon-driven. It never feels like you're lost in a maze of settings, which is refreshing compared to some other high-end systems. The screen has seen a significant jump as well, with D65 calibration for accurate color temperature and brightness peaking at 1400 nits. It is finally usable for evaluating HDR captures in the field. For years, photographers shooting HDR had to guess how images would look on a proper display, but now you can review in real time. Hasselblad even added subtle haptic feedback to the touchscreen, which makes confirming selections more tactile and less ambiguous. It's a small touch, but it shows how much thought has gone into making the shooting experience both premium and practical. But let's talk about the feature that transforms the X2D II camera from a specialized tool into something more versatile: autofocus. Anyone who has used earlier Hasselblad X cameras knows that autofocus has been one of the system's biggest weaknesses. It was limited to single-point AF, and while the X2D camera introduced basic face detection, it was still far from competitive with modern cameras. That changes here. The X2D II camera delivers proper continuous autofocus with subject tracking and object recognition. The tracking feels fast, accurate, and reliable in a way that is completely new for a medium format system. The camera can now identify and lock onto humans, animals, or vehicles, and you can switch between these with a quick push of the dial. The blend of phase detection, contrast detection, and LiDAR makes focusing seamless, and it no longer feels like you're wrestling against the system to keep up with moving subjects. This is huge for a medium format camera. Traditionally, medium format has been synonymous with slower, more deliberate photography, portraits, landscapes, still life. The X2D II camera doesn't abandon those strengths, but it opens the door to scenarios that were previously awkward or impossible. Motion-heavy subjects like dancers, street performers, or even fast-paced events are now within reach. That means one camera can serve both traditional Hasselblad strengths and more dynamic work, which is exactly the kind of flexibility many modern photographers need. Image quality, of course, is still Hasselblad's crown jewel. The X2D II camera lowers the base ISO from 64 to 50, which contributes to an impressive 15.3 stops of dynamic range. When paired with the ability to shoot 16-bit RAW files, the camera delivers images with immense depth and tonal richness. This is the kind of sensor performance that makes editing not just easier, but genuinely more rewarding, because you can push and pull shadows and highlights without the image falling apart. What's truly new, though, is Hasselblad's full embrace of HDR workflows. The company is calling the X2D II camera an end-to-end HDR camera, and it's not just marketing. Captures can now be saved in high format with a built-in gain map that allows HDR-capable screens to render highlights and shadows in ways traditional files cannot. The beauty here is that compatibility isn't sacrificed if you view the same file on a non-HDR display. It defaults to a standard dynamic range version that still looks good. But when viewed properly on a modern screen, the images take on a level of realism and subtlety that is striking. Skin tones feel more natural, highlights retain nuance, and the overall color depth is closer to what you see with your eyes. The display improvements on the camera make it possible to preview this effect on location, and the ecosystem supports it too. The updated Focus Mobile 2 app now allows HDR editing alongside its already impressive noise reduction technology. Hasselblad's Deep Learning Noise Reduction System, HNNR, uses advanced algorithms to clean up high ISO files with minimal loss of detail, which can be a lifesaver in low light. The fact that this is available on mobile devices means you can shoot, clean up, and even share polished HDR-ready files without ever touching a computer. For professionals, this kind of portability is becoming increasingly important. The app even allows you to power the camera on or off remotely, transfer files, and handle firmware updates directly, removing the need for clunky computer-based processes. Another area where the X2D II camera takes a bold step is stabilization. The original X2D camera had an already impressive 7 stops of in-body stabilization, but Hasselblad has managed to push this to 10 stops. That number might seem almost excessive, but in practice it opens up creative freedom. Shooting handheld exposures up to 1 second becomes realistic, and it changes how you approach low-light or long exposure scenes. Instead of worrying about carrying a tripod for cityscapes or waterfalls, you can often get the shot handheld. The only limitation left is whether your subject stays still, not whether you can. Internal storage remains a standout feature as well. Like its predecessor, the X2D II camera includes a built-in 1TB SSD, which provides either backup or primary storage depending on your workflow. This feels almost futuristic in the camera world, where dual card slots are still the norm, and it's baffling that more brands haven't followed this path. Having such generous built-in storage means you're less likely to lose a shot if you forget or fill a memory card, and it makes transfers smoother too. After several weeks of use, the overall impression is that the X2D II camera doesn't just improve on the X2D camera, it changes the conversation about what a medium format camera can be. Autofocus is finally competitive, stabilization is class-leading, HDR workflows are deeply integrated, and the ergonomics have been refined to make shooting feel fluid and enjoyable. And perhaps most surprising of all, Hasselblad has priced it lower than the original X2D camera, bucking the industry trend of constant price hikes. In an era where cameras seem to creep upward in cost with each new release, Hasselblad has managed to deliver more for less, which feels like a statement of intent. This is the kind of upgrade that broadens the appeal of medium format. It's no longer just a system for slow, careful work. It's a tool that can handle diverse situations while still delivering the extraordinary image quality Hasselblad is known for. Whether you're shooting portraits with nuanced skin tones, landscapes that demand dynamic range, or even moving subjects that previously would have been out of reach, the X2D II camera handles it gracefully. It's not just an incremental update. It's a sign that Hasselblad wants medium format to be a modern, versatile option in the toolkit of today's photographers, not just a niche luxury item. For those who already own Hasselblad gear, the transition is seamless, with firmware updates bringing older lenses into compatibility with the new autofocus system. For those considering medium format for the first time, the X2D II camera makes a compelling case by combining cutting-edge features with unmatched image fidelity at a price point that undercuts expectations. After using it extensively, the sense is clear. This camera is not just about refinement, it's about expansion. It opens doors that medium format has traditionally left closed, and it does so without sacrificing the heritage and quality that have always defined Hasselblad.